The Border Patrol TC1 by Dog Expedition system is the first GPS-based dog fence. The collar combines dog fence, remote training, and tracking capabilities in a single unit. By using GPS satellites instead of the regular RF or Wi-Fi base stations, the Border Patrol lets you have boundary areas up to 400 acres with impressive boundary stability. The unit does have some significant drawbacks, however. Despite being GPS-based, you can still only have a circular field. The collar is also huge, by far the biggest and heaviest of any dog fence, and is completely unsuitable for dogs under 30 pounds. Finally, despite the collar being built like a tank, the collar antenna looks fragile and we don't think it'll be very durable. Traditionally, wireless fences have a base station that creates a circular boundary field. They usually have a pretty limited range too. A top-of-the-line Havahart wireless, for example, can do about 200 yards in radius, but anything beyond like 100 yards can be very unreliable with the boundary lines that drift a lot from one moment to the next. Now let's dig in and look at the controller, which I'm going to turn on. The controller is used to set up the fence and is also used when the collar is in remote mode or tracking mode. The collar has a very nice color display. It feels very well built too, and all the buttons have a nice tactile feel. After going through a setup and calibration process, you take the controller where you want the center of the containment circle and you mark the point. Then you set the boundary radius for the warning, the start of the correction, and the end of the correction, and then you're ready to go. What is remarkable about this system is how well it works. Now, when we first heard it was GPS-based, we thought the accuracy would be hopeless. However, it really turns out to be pretty decent. The manual says to expect movement of plus minus 10 yards, but we found it does much better than that. On average, the boundary moves around plus minus 3 to 4 yards from moment to moment. Now, it's nowhere near as good as a wired fence, which will only move about 10% of that amount, but decent for a wireless fence. What is really remarkable is that the accuracy is maintained even when the system is at its full range. Even when the boundary is out at 800 yards, the accuracy is pretty much the same. With most wireless systems, accuracy deteriorates rapidly the bigger the boundary. This actually works at full range, so you could realistically fence in up to 400 acres. With the next best fence, the Havahart Radio, you would struggle to do more than 2+ acres in real-world conditions. The Border Patrol also doesn't have all the problems with the signal getting blocked by buildings or metal obstacles, since it is getting its location from GPS satellites in the sky rather than the base station in your house. A neat feature is that if the dog does break through the boundary, they can return without getting the correction. That is a first on a dog fence system. As well as helping you set up the fence, the controller can also be used as a remote trainer, meaning that you can correct the dog if you are doing obedience or hunting training. It also has a tracking function, so if you are, say, hunting, you can track the position of the dog up to 2 miles away. The controller recharges using this port on the side. Now, let's take a look at the collar. The Border Patrol collar is the weak point of the system. As you can see, the collar receiver box is huge. It is much bigger and heavier than the standard wireless collar, weighing in at 10 ounces. This is 3 times heavier than the Havahart radial collar. And this is a problem for any dog under 30 pounds, which will make the collar unwearable. It is really not going to be comfortable on any dog under 40 pounds, and even then it's going to be bulky. The collar also has this antenna sticking out. We do not like this design at all. It feels flimsy, and the way it's positioned, I can just see other dogs just pulling it out or ripping it off. Or, if your dog rolls on their back, I can just see, it snapping off. The collar is new, so we don't have much feedback on it yet, but I do suspect these will break. The collar band is also too short, and it only does a maximum of 20 inches, so it's going to be too small for very large breed dogs. Due to the way the antenna is integrated, the collar, you can't replace the collar band, and however, you might be able to get an extender. The collar has both a warning beep and a warning vibration mode. Most dog fences have a warning beep that is hard for humans to hear. But the warning beep is so soft on this collar and so high-pitched it is virtually inaudible. The vibration mode, however, works very well, and we would use the collar in vibration mode rather than beep. The collar recharges using a lithium-ion battery that you plug into through this port. And other than that, there is only a single button that switches the unit on and off. The battery life is about 2 to 3 days and will charge in about 2 to 3 hours. The collar has 50 correction levels, all set at the controller. But once you set it up with the controller, the collar works independently, so you don't need to keep the controller on. You can have up to 5 of these collars on a single system, which is another great step forward. Most of the new wireless systems only allow 2 dogs on the system. The unit has the regular limitations of GPS. Coverage is spotty where there is not a good line of sight to the sky. Where there is heavy tree cover, the unit doesn't get a good signal, although with light tree cover we found no problems at all. Now let's take a look at all the other accessories that come with this system. The system comes with this nice hard case, useful if you want to use the collar as a hunting collar and take it out on trips. It comes with this correction tester, and you plug it into the probes for testing. It also comes with 50 flags. They're the nice type with the metal, so as opposed to the cheap plastic ones that most systems come with, and it's a nice touch. But you're probably going to need a lot more flags than just 50, and because that's only going to cover about half an acre, and this system can do much larger than that. Now overall, the technology on this fence is amazing. You get a wireless fence that you can do huge areas up to 800 yards radius, which is over 400 acres, and still maintaining decent boundary accuracy. So this is a great fence for people with large ranches. Also, this fence is a great option for people who are wanting a wireless fence but have lots of obstacles and barriers or a metal roof. Now another plus is that you get the tracking and remote functionality with this system as well. But there are 2 really big drawbacks that I think are going to limit its use. First, the collar is too big and too heavy for most dogs. And second, the antenna design looks very fragile, and we suspect there will be durability issues. For areas under 2.5 acres, if you want a wireless fence, the have-a-heart radial is probably the better way to go. In smaller yards, it is more accurate, and it is about half the price. But for large areas over 2.5 acres, if you want to do wireless, the Dog Expedition Systems Border Patrol TC1 is the way to go.